Bonsoir tout le monde, bienvenue à notre appel hebdomadaire pour Team Lion. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes le mercredi 23 août et c'est la dernière semaine pour la Team Beachbody Cup. Alors, j'espère que vous êtes en mode action parce qu'on a du temps pour pouvoir continuer d'atteindre nos objectifs. Je sais qu'il y a énormément de lions et de lionnes sur le leaderboard, particulièrement dans le top 10. Donc, c'est super extraordinaire de pouvoir voir tout le monde qui rock comme ça la Team Cup. Tonight, we have an amazing guest with us. I don't know where to start exactly before I get with her credentials and talk more about all the amazing achievements she has accomplished in the company. Let me just tell you one thing. The first time I met this beautiful woman, I'm telling you, I was shaking. I met her. I was in my first summit. I was a baby coach. I qualified for that John Maxwell training that we had. Like, I think they took like the top 200 Success Club pointers or something like that. And I was alone in that lineup, like coming to my first summit. I only had one of my coaches coming with me, and I was the only one qualified, I think, for that event. And I'm there and I see Lindsay Matway, and I didn't know much about you. All I knew is that you were a rock star, you looked amazing, and I wanted to talk to you and have a picture with you. And if it wasn't from Beachbody and all the personal development I had done in the first few months of becoming a coach, I would have stayed in my corner and just let my shyness take the best of me. And I will always remember how nice you were. You were so welcoming, and you took that picture with me, and it meant so much. And a few years after, we were sharing some moments at the elite reception together, and for me that was like an incredible moment. And I remember I made a montage of like before and after, and I've been looking up to you since pretty much day one, since I found out who you are. I've always been inspired by your big heart and how your integrity, how you've been building this business in an incredible way and very inspiring way. You just keep on pushing your limits. I could keep on going like that, but I don't want to talk too much because I want you to be able to take the floor. But let me just share with you guys a few of her amazing stats. So she's a superstar diamond 4. So 15-star diamond in 4 business centers. Like, I mean, it's a big milestone to be 15-star in one business center. And she did it 4 times. So that's remarkable. She was a 2013 top coach. She's a 5-time top 5 coach. She's top earner in the company, and she's been in Success Club for 80 months. And Success Club 10 and plus, and she's just really, really generous, genuine, and I'm so thankful to have you tonight on the call. And you're going to be talking to us about vision and belief, and I think that's something that we will all be able to take great notes about and implement right away in our business and in our life. So please take it away.
My gosh. Okay, first of all, thank you, because it's so cool. I mean, it still blows my mind to this day that I'm in this position, that somebody would even say those things, or that, you know, it'd mean a lot for somebody to take a picture with you, which, you know, I'm sure that's the same case with you, Miss Leadership Award, you know, and how many times have you guys won the Team Cup? It's like, I just stopped trying after a while, but it's, you know, it's awesome to be able to see you emerge as the leader that you are today, and to be able to come on here and be able to speak to you guys. Oh, it's still an honor. 7 years later, I've been in the business now 7 years, and it's the craziest thing when I think back on where I started, and it's been fun. This past week, I started a free group, which is one of the things that I've done lately to be able to expand my market and to speak to the people who I really feel connected to. And I think I'll expand upon that when I talk about what you guys asked about attracting people you like or like me. But I'm doing a group on the habits that changed my life. And I really went back to the beginning of my journey, and I said, oh my gosh, you know, how did I get to this place? Because just so you guys know, I mean, it sounds really fancy when she says all the accolades and stuff, and that is who I am in the Beachbody world, right? But that's not who I am as Lindsay Matway. Like, that's not my whole story. That's a little small piece of the 32 years that I've been around. And a greater part of my story started before Beachbody, and that's really where I want to begin, just to like briefly give you guys a glimpse, because I think sometimes, especially as newer coaches, you look at someone where they are currently and you're like, oh my gosh, I'll never be there because she's got this. You list off all the reasons why that person's different from you. You know, like, well, she's got a big network, or she's got this, she's got that. And I did not start there. So I want you to understand a little bit of glimpse, because hopefully when I do that, I share that, one, you know, someday you're going to see a piece of your story and my story, and that's always important. That's one of the most key things in this business, with being vulnerable and sharing. Oh gosh, I forgot to put my dog away. Hold on. She knows when I'm on a video call because she's like constantly, so I may have to go put her away in a second. But when I started this business, I had filed bankruptcy at 25 years old, and I had filed it, I think, like 2 or 3 months before I found out about Beachbody and realized there was actual business attached to it. And it was the lowest point I'd ever been in my life. And what was funny about it is, growing up, I grew up with a really unstable home. I'm talking, you know, non-functioning alcoholic parents, and a lot of times just being the caretaker of everyone else. And I grew up really quickly. I didn't have, you know, a childhood. When I look back, I don't really think of moments where people were taking care of me. It was always me sort of worrying about everybody else and wanting to fix them. And I like to call myself like a rescuer. I like to rescue people. I see people as, it's a gift and a curse. I see people as they could be. And I always saw my parents as they could be. So I always tried to help them to realize that potential. And I spent a lot of my life trying to fix them. And as I grew up and got older, I realized, okay, well, that may never happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the perfect life. I am going to be the complete opposite of my parents. I'm going to, you know, marry the first guy I ever kissed. I'm going to marry him. We're going to I bought a house at 20 years old, and financed the house. Everything was cool. It was great. I had this guy I was in a relationship with for 7 years. Everything was going pretty well. And then all of a sudden, life just sort of started to happen. My brother got sick. I had an older brother that got sick with brain cancer and ended up passing away. Soon after, me and my boyfriend of 7 years, we just had grown apart, and we decided to part ways. Now, the house that I owned, that was all in my name, ended up being $100,000 under where I had bought it a few years earlier because of the market crash here in the States in 2005. And now I'm struggling to keep afloat. Well, I start dating this really nice guy, and things are going very well, right? I like him, but little did I know, 3 months into our relationship, we were going to find out that I was pregnant. And it was kind of one of those, you know, like those moments they show in movies where the person hears news and their like world starts spinning, and like, whoa, you know, this doesn't happen to me. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I felt. I was like an out-of-body experience, because I always had this vision of where I would be in my life, and that was not a part of the vision until I was 27 years old. At the time, I was 23. And so, and I was also going to be married. I was also going to be, you know, in a long-term relationship. I was going to have had my dream wedding. I was probably going to have graduated college, gotten a like $75,000 a year career. I was going to, you know, live in my house. It was going to be really nice, and everything for the baby's going to be perfectly fine. We're going to be, you know, able to afford everything. She's going to get all of her wishes and dreams, you know, and I'm going to be the perfect mom. I'm going to be able to be present with her because I'll have this job that I work a few hours, and then I'm going to come home, and my husband's probably going to be the provider. And it was just this whole world that I had for myself that was just being shattered in that moment, because it was not aligning with what I had planned for. And I just remember the light at the end of the tunnel shrinking in that moment. And then it got really small, because at 32 weeks in my pregnancy, I ended up having my daughter 8 weeks premature. So she was born at like 3 pounds, 15 ounces. She's super tiny. And during her birth, she suffered I guess her head basically had gotten stuck, and they had done some things that pulled on it, and it caused a brain bleed. And she was given like a 90% chance of having cerebral palsy. She had feeding tubes. We were like in the NICU for 2 months. And here I am, a new mom, don't really know what I'm doing. Don't have like parents that are there like, tell me it's going to be okay. I'm with a guy who I've been with at this point now 9 or 10 months. And I don't know, you know, is he going to stay? Is he going to leave me here? I'm going to am I going to lose my house? You know, I kept things kind of afloat, but barely. And I was, worst nightmare, the pregnant bartender, like literally working pregnant bartending. And so thankfully in that moment, my now husband, it worked out. The fairy tale had a good ending. He ended up sticking by my side. We grew stronger through that adversity. But at the same time, when we took our daughter home and she finally was able to go home, I started to get the reality of medical bills being sent to my house over and over and over again. And the very first one, I'll never forget opening, because I opened it up and it was the neurology bill for her having the brain bleed. And it was $222,000 and some change. I remember the 222 though, because that had previously been my favorite number. And I was like, not anymore. And I just remember sitting there thinking, like trying to calculate, and I'm not that good at math, but I realized, okay, my bartending shifts, how many shifts would it take to pay off that kind of debt? And not only was it that one, it just kept coming, and eventually added up to over $400,000. And then on top of that, I had a $100,000 deficit in the mortgage that I now had that I really couldn't afford. And a baby that you can't just drop off at the daycare. You know, you can't just drop off a baby that has she came home with a tube down her nose. So you can't go drop her off with anybody. And so I was very stuck, and I felt very sad and very depressed, because it's not what I had envisioned. And that light at the tunnel was yay small. And that's kind of the point right before my Beachbody journey started. And all of a sudden I found this infomercial for P90X. And it sounds so cliche when I say it now, but it really was, I didn't experience it being like this all awakening moment when I found P90X. I thought it was a complete scam and figured I'd be returning it and getting my money back. But I wanted to get back in control of one area of my life, and everything else felt impossible to get control of. And so I started to focus on myself, because I thought, okay, well, maybe if I start to look like myself again, because of course I'm also in the worst shape I've ever been in my life, then maybe I'll start to feel like myself again, and I'll start to come out of this fog. And so I decided to start it, and I quit 4 days in after I hit yoga. I was like, forget it. I thought that was gonna be the rest day. It was horrible. So I would pick it up again a couple weeks later, because I'd catch the infomercial again during feeding hours, or I'd go on YouTube and I'd research women's transformations, and they would inspire me. And after 4 attempts, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to post. I hate public failure. I was a perfectionist. So what if I just post my journey, 4th attempt, online on YouTube, so that people would know if I fail, and I'm not doing it quietly by myself, and have them keep me accountable through my journey. And so that's what I did. I decided I'm going to post this up, and then I'm not going to kill myself if I can't do the whole hour. I'm just going to do what I can. The next time I'll do a little bit longer. And I decided to beat my own personal best. And so I did 12 minutes the first time, 17 minutes the second time, the next week that I did it, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever, until I finally built up to where I could complete the entire thing. I started to post day 30, day 60, eventually day 90. And I'm not looking at it as a business. I wasn't aware of coaching at that point. But when I applied that mentality and I started to focus on just beating my own personal best rather than comparing to what my vision was, or comparing to the other people in the video, or getting mad at myself because this happened or that happened that's out of my control, I started to focus on just the here and now. What can you do to push yourself just a little bit more, than you have previously, and grow? And that I said, okay, what if I apply that to other areas of my life? I know things seem out of control and I can't go the full Monty right now. I can't fix everything. But what if I just try to fix one little thing, and just keep compounding that? And that's exactly what I did, is I just started to do that in different areas of my life. And I started to feel like myself again. I started to look like myself again. I started to realize, wow, I have the ability to be able to inspire other people, because those YouTube videos, I started to get messages back from other women saying, it's your transformation specifically that really inspired me and made me decide to go for it. And here's my results now. It's like, oh my gosh, I only had 15 pounds to lose or something. So I didn't have this giant weight loss stories. I didn't really think I would inspire anybody. But the key was their journey looked a lot like mine, and that's what inspired them. It wasn't that I had a huge dramatic weight loss. It wasn't that there was just this really drawn out awesome story, because I wish I would have done it better now, knowing all the views that I ended up getting. But it was just the fact that they saw themselves in my story. And so I thought, okay, what if I dig a little bit deeper once I found out the business side of this? What if I dig a little bit deeper and I tell them about my real story? What if I tell them about my past? What if I tell them about my struggles? What if I tell them about my fears? And I share those things. How many more people could I encourage to be able to go and live their best life and to make some of the same choices that were helping me to become the person I was becoming? And so the sharing the vulnerability side of this has been huge for me. And that was a complete opposite of what I used to be. I used to pretend everything's okay. I've got it down. I'm fine. Nobody needs to know about my past. If they know about my past, they would never like me. They would never accept me, because anybody who saw that those were my parents, or that was my house, or that was my me dropping out of school, or me doing whatever, they would never accept me. But in truth, it's actually those things that connect us all. Because when somebody comes across, if I was to get on here with you guys and it's like, hey guys, so yeah, I mean, my journey was really awesome. Like I just started and everybody wanted to sign up, and like, you know, the workouts are easy for me. It's just, I don't know. I just was able to rise up to 15 star in a couple of years, and it was just pretty simple. Then you would, first of all, you would hate me. And then second of all, you wouldn't relate to it at all. And I wouldn't be able to help you. It wouldn't be encouraging. So being raw and real with your journey is the number one thing. The other thing that I started to do, and the habit that really started to change my life, is I realized I had a story about my life previously and about who I was that was not serving me. So I had always quit everything I had ever started. I quit every sport growing up. I quit every extracurricular. I quit cheerleading in high school. I quit high school in the 10th grade. I quit college like 3 or 4 times. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh, relationships and just everything. I mean, literally, businesses. I was like a serial entrepreneur. I had a bartending business. I had a bow business that I started with my daughter. I was just a quitter. And the moment I would hit adversity, I would think to myself, all right, so if this was meant to be, then it would all just flow. And so obviously it's not meant to be. So I'm going to go to the next thing that's going to catch my eye, because I'm like a creative minded person. So the next thing would catch my eye and I'd be going over here and doing that thing. What I realized is that was not serving me. And the likelihood of me getting into anything and it just being a peaceful, blissful ride is not reality. Whether it be a marriage, whether it be parenting, whether it be this business, it's all going to be challenging. There's always going to be ups and downs. And the point of them is not to deter you from going down that road. The point of it is to grow you into what you're supposed to become in order to rise up and be the kind of wife, the kind of mother, the kind of business owner that you're meant to be. And so when I faced coaching, I decided I finish everything that I commit to, whether or not the feeling is still there. So if I commit to this call and I say I'm going to do it, whether or not, thankfully today I did feel like doing it, but whether or not I felt like doing it, I was showing up no matter what. The previous Lindsay only showed up if she felt like it, and she rarely felt like it. So you have to be the kind of person that is good with your word. You have to be the kind of person that when you say you're going to do something, you do it, because not only is it important, obviously, for keeping friends and keeping relationships, but it's important to prove to yourself that you're the kind of person that stays true to your word. Yeah, that you're reliable. And as I started to prove that to myself through workouts initially, showing up to my workouts even when I didn't feel like it, and then it became the business, showing up for calls that I scheduled, showing up and getting back to messages that I didn't feel like writing back in that moment, showing up for my children, whatever. I started to create a better belief and confidence in myself. One of you guys' questions was, were you always confident? No. Straight up, no. I felt the least confident I had ever felt right before I started this. I was at the lowest of lows, because when I faced my reality, none of it said success. And everything in me wanted to hide from this opportunity because I wasn't ready. If you could have picked the worst possible time for me to start something like this, it would have been when I started. Because one, I was broke. And I'm talking, I said bankrupt, like literally filed Chapter 13 bankruptcy, had no money, no credit cards, no friends to borrow from. I was losing my home, moving from like a nice place to somewhere that was less than 1,000 square feet and tiny room with 2 big dogs and a baby and a husband that was working all the time. So no, it was the worst possible time. On top of that, I got placed on, I called Beachbody to find out if they had this program. And I was placed under somebody randomly, and that person does not work the business. She actually ended up canceling like a year ago. So weird. So the person above her does not work the business. The person above him does not work the business. The person above him is like a founding coach who's like 85 years old. He definitely doesn't work the business. So I realized very quickly as I went up my upline that there didn't exist an upline to help me. And of course, what does my initial old mindset say? Oh, must not be meant to be, because if it was meant to be, you'd be like under a great sponsor and you'd have help, because then you're going to have you're not going to have any people placed under you. You're going to be in a dead leg. You don't have anybody to train you. Obviously, you don't know what you're doing. You don't have social media following. So why are you even trying? That's my old mindset, right? But the new mindset said, what if this test is supposed to be a part of my testimony? Like, just what if, Like, what if maybe I'm put in this position because I'm going to build a really successful business, and if I would have been under someone else, maybe they would have taught me an icky way, the typical network marketing way, and I would have revolted from it because I hated that kind of stuff. So what if I just become the kind of coach that I wished I would have had? Just like I did with my parenting, I wanted to become the kind of mom that I wished I would have had. What if I do that with coaching, and I approach it in a way of just treating other people how I would want to be treated? And what if I go through these different trainings, and sure, I'm going to have to put in more work than most people, but if I go through it, and as I'm going through it, I think with my team in mind before I have a team, and I try to think, how can I simplify this for them? How can I make them watch less videos so that they can have an easier road than me? Pay forward to the generation beyond me to make things easier. The same way that we want to do with our kids, right? We want to make things better for them. I thought the same thing with my team, and that's exactly what I started to do. I would get on, if I could sneak on another team's call, I was doing it. If I could get on, there wasn't as much stuff on YouTube as there is now. You guys are so blessed. But if I could find a YouTube video, or back then there was like some talk shoe thing we all used, I was scouring the internet to find ways that I could grow so that I could pay that forward to my team in a more condensed version, and I would make YouTube videos to share that with them. And I just happened to keep those YouTube videos public. And so other coaches started to watch it, but other people that weren't coaches started to watch it. And they started to think, wow, that girl's really informative that she shares this information. And guys, I had no qualifications. I was not 15-star diamond most of the videos that are 2011 that you see floating around. But I spoke with confidence. I had watched the same videos over and over and over again until I felt like I could explain it in a way. And sometimes it took 100 takes, but explain it in a simplified way. And then I put those up there. And little by little, people started to find me through the YouTube videos. And I started to believe in myself because I kept showing up. And I realized, wow, like if I just keep growing little by little by little by little, same way I did with the workouts, I'm starting to become a more confident, better version of myself. I'm starting to believe and see down the road of who I can be. And so I had to relabel who Lindsay Matway was, and I had to relabel what her story meant. Before, my story meant, this is why I'm not going to succeed, because I didn't have this, I didn't have this, I didn't have this. If I would have had this, I would have been more successful. But instead I said, no, let's flip that story on its head. Let's make that story the reason why God's going to make you so much more successful, because he's going to use that as a testimony to be able to say, hey, you, with your bullshit excuses that you're trying to use, nah, sorry, peace out. You can't use them, because look at that girl. She was able to do it, and she didn't have a sponsor. She doesn't have anybody placed under her. She doesn't have, any kind of knowledge beyond you. She's a high school dropout. I have like a first semester of 10th grade education. Okay. So I am not smarter than you. Maybe now, because I've done a lot of work, but I just decided I was going to grit it out, and it was going to be worth it in the long term. And I didn't know how fast things would grow or anything like that. All I knew is I was not going to stop, because this picture here, this is my little girl when I was probably about 6 months into the business, and I was making about $200 or $300 a week, working probably 120 hours a week. Not because I had to, because I just loved it so much, and I was so driven to figure it out, and I had nobody to tell me otherwise. Do you have to spend 120 hours to be successful in this business? No, not at all. especially those of you who, you have your amazing sponsor who gives you all kinds of guidance. But mama was desperate, and that little girl was watching, and I would look down at her anytime I felt fatigued or tired or would have those little seeds of doubt planted, and I would just be like, you know, in that picture, I love this picture because she's in my shoes, you know? And I would think about that. Like, she is going to walk in my shoes. So if I were going to give her advice today and she's feeling tired and she's saying, Mom, I'm so frustrated, this dream is not coming together as fast as I want, what advice am I going to give her? And I would talk to myself the way that I would talk to my daughter. I would give myself love and support and encouragement the same way that I would give my daughter love and support and encouragement if she was in my shoes. And all the time I would sit there and I'd play in my head the day that she comes to me and she says, Mom, you know, I really want to do this with my life. And I get to be like, heck yes. Like, let's go all in. I will support you 100%. I will get you in this lesson, or I'll get you this tutor or whatever. And little did I know that that little girl, you know, with her brain bleed, of course, was going to be this amazing overcomer. She was healed of that brain bleed, but she has dyslexia and now is able to go to like a specialty school for dyslexia. And that school is $14,000 a year. There was no way the bartender, Lindsay Matway, would be able to afford a school that's $14,000 a year. And there's no way that I would be able to get her the best possible education that I can. And I'm so grateful for the grit that I put in those times where I was talking to her, you know, speaking to myself, showing myself love, and being able to like redefine what success looked like to me. And I don't know, she's just been like she's been my little why since day one. It's just like this little angel put in my life at what seemed like the worst time ever ended up being the absolute best time ever. And when I looked in my back and I started Beachbody, it seemed like the worst time ever. It was the perfect time. It was like the perfect time. So just trust that, like, no matter how imperfect life seems right now, or how many, it seems like, gosh, everything just keeps coming at you. Like, if you could just wait until things settle down, or if you just wait until you finish school, or if you just wait until whatever, it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen. Like, life is going to continue to throw curveballs. And this business is like, it can be your vehicle to be able to have the freedom to do all the things that you want to do, but you've got to ride it out regardless of the situation. And just like how marriage goes through those storms, actually there's a storm right now, you're going to come out of it better because of going through the storm. So when you're in those storms, ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? Because I promise you, I look back and I think all those storms hold on purpose. Oh, am I good? Okay, cool. So, well, thank you. I'm going to put up the chat because I see little pop-ups, but I don't see the whole thing. Thank you. Okay, so giving myself new labels of who I am. Like I said, I was a quitter. I was a perfectionist. Here are the other things. Oh, I always would say, like, I'm an introvert. And then I wondered why I was scared to go out with people. I wondered why I was like so quiet in certain circumstances. I constantly affirm those things to myself. And I know right now you guys have labels that you've given yourself that you know are not serving you. And you've got to, one, acknowledge that those labels exist. So first of all, like, put those out there, know what they are. And they play through your head all day long. So you're not going to need a long time to figure that out. But then you got to figure out, okay, how can I flip the switch and be able to relabel myself? What are the things that I want people to remember me for? What are the things that, like, the day comes, you know, we're all going to leave this planet, right? We're going to pass away. What are the things that at your funeral people are going to say about you? What do you want them to recall about you? I had to get very specific with what that was, and was I living a life that would lead me there? And so for me, I constantly put up like little affirmations. I'll show you. I have these all over my house still to this day. I'll read them to you guys. But this one specifically says, I'm a present and loving wife and mom. This other one says, I love to grow through challenges. This one says, my faith guides me in all that I do and face. This one says, I bring out courage in others. Another one says, I'm passionate and well-spoken. And I put those everywhere in my house as my reminders. And every time I see them, I have to say them out loud. And I put them in places where I can't ignore them. Because if it's like in the corner over there, I'm not going to see it. But if it's on the refrigerator, I'm going to see it. If it's on my dashboard of my car, I'm going to see it. If it's on my laptop, when I open it, I'm going to see it. So those things, this is actually one from 2011. It says, you are a 15-star diamond coach. And I've kept this one. I love this one because I had this everywhere. I had it everywhere. It was just all over my house. And I was like, Lindsay Matway, 15-star diamond coach. Lindsay Matway, first female top coach. Lindsay Matway, I'd speak those things over myself. And I created, the more that I saw it, the more that I said it, the more my mind opened up to the possibility that I could create it. And the way that your mind works, it's crazy. It's like amazing what I realized over the last 7 years is, when you're about to buy a car, and you guys might have heard this before, but like you're about to buy, let's say your dream car is a BMW 7 Series and it's in red and like you have it planned out, you're going to have this car. And everywhere you go, all of a sudden, it's like all you see is that exact car. You're like, there's another BMW. Like, there's another one. There's another one. Oh my gosh, there it is. Literally, my husband and I were just talking about this car that we had never really seen yesterday. And today he sent me a picture of it as he was driving to the supermarket. And this is a rare car. So it's like your brain, when you have something you're focusing on, your brain looks for it. And so all of a sudden, when you're focusing on the positive labels that you want versus the negative ones, that I'm a quitter, or I don't finish what I start, or I get bored easy, or whatever it is, what do you think you attract? Naturally, your brain wants to make you right about yourself. So it looks for those things versus if you're focusing on the new labels, the things that you want to believe about yourself, you want others to remember about you. All of a sudden you get this like spark of energy where you see those things everywhere and it's attracted to you. And I don't know how it all works. And I don't know, if it's like Mother Earth or law of attraction or God or whatever, but I just know it's worked because I've done this for the past 7 years and I can't really give it to my great upline. I can't really give it to my awesome upbringing. All I know is this has worked for me and it's created me to be a healthier, happier, more blessed version of myself. And so if there's one thing I can tell you to do tonight, it is 1, to write down how you want to be remembered and get as detailed as possible. And think about the 3 words you want people to think of when they think of you. Maybe even ask that on your Facebook. It's a good engagement post. What are the 3 things you think about when you think of me? And then next, think about those labels that you've given yourself that are not serving you and then replace them. And then I want you to go get Post-its. You probably have them somewhere. If you don't, go get a piece of paper, cut it up in squares, and throw those babies all over the areas that you most frequent. And give yourself a week. If it doesn't work in a week, throw them out. But give yourself a week of asking or saying it out loud each time you see them and see if it doesn't make a difference, because I promise you it will. I'll give you a little example of visual. So this little elephant, you can see here, shows him tied to this little tiny stick. So sadly, when a baby elephant is born, they tie it up. And of course, it's a baby elephant, has no prior belief systems created, but the baby elephant struggles and struggles and struggles and struggles and struggles, and he cannot break free. And he struggles and struggles and struggles and struggles and struggles, and he can't break free. And he struggles and struggles and struggles, and eventually enough struggling goes on that he has a belief that he stops struggling because he knows he's stuck. And then as the elephant grows and becomes this like 2-ton elephant, he never even tries to pull away when he could easily break free from that thing that's holding him back, that's holding him down and holding him in place. But because he has that belief from when he was a baby elephant that he cannot break free, he doesn't even try. And I have to believe that there's so many of us out there that something happened to us at some point in our lives. Somebody told us something that we took, and believed was our truth. And it might have been true when you were 7. It might have been true when you were 12. But now that you're 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, you are not who you used to be. But yet there's this thing in your mind that you don't even try because you just remember back to that time and you gave up. And I would just dare you to try to figure out what that thing is and then just try, because I promise you, you're a lot stronger than you think. And I think that's what I realized in those moments when I finally started to try. I'm like, whoa, I am strong. Like, oh my gosh, I can be confident. Oh my gosh, I don't have to be perfect and people will still like me. Some won't. But I don't die when people don't. That's crazy. When people don't accept my friend request, I don't die. You know, when people don't like my posts, I don't die. When they unfriend me, I don't die. Nobody, you know, loses anything for it. So as I started to do and face those things that I realized were holding me back or that were insecurities of mine, I realized I was a lot stronger than I was. And what happens is a lot of you guys, it's going to be backwards. So this one says potential. A lot of us as Beachbody coaches, we start our journey and we base our efforts based on the potential that we believe we have as a coach. And some of you guys, you might have awesome confidence. So you might have started out really great and put a lot of effort into this. And based on your very confident demeanor, you took a lot of action. And based on your action, you got some results. And you were like, dang, I hit Success Club 10 my first month. This is amazing. And then based on that, you're like, shoot, I'm a baller. So you took more action, had more results, and it kept going around and building and building and building. But what happens with a lot of coaches is they get in and like kind of like dip their toe and they're like, okay, I'm maybe going to see if this works, but if it doesn't work, at least I can back out easily. So you dip your toe and you're like cautiously waiting for people's response to be no. You know nobody's going to want it. Oh my gosh, nobody wants to pay that kind of money for a challenge pack. It's ridiculously priced. If it's just cheaper, it'd be better. So based on that potential that you think you have, the very little potential, you take minimal action. And then based on the minimal action, you get very minimal results. And based on the minimal results, it kind of confirms that belief. And it says, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be that good at this. And then based on that, you believe you have less potential, take less action, get less results. And it keeps going around and around and around until eventually you quit. And you're like, I don't even know why I tried that thing. It doesn't work. The only people at the top get there. It's already tapped out. There's too many people in the business, blah, 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 blah. It's all lies. It was just based on your own belief. But if you start, rather than starting with what you think your potential is, if you start to focus on how to increase your belief, you can change this a lot faster. If you start here where you're at and don't work on this, the belief side of it, and increasing who you know you're capable of becoming, it'll work a lot better if you just focus on the personal development side of it. And I guess this is what my whole call is based on, is the vision for your life. And I do things like a vision board group because that really made a difference for me. I guess the start for my personal development journey was a movie called The Secret. And I think it's like only an hour, hour and a half. But it's all about how we focus on the things that we don't want versus focusing on the things that we do want. And I will tell you, 2010, Lindsay Matway, when I started, only knew what she didn't want. Didn't want to be in debt. Didn't want to be left hanging dry as a single mom. Didn't want my baby to have a brain bleed. Didn't want to lose my home. Didn't want to fail. I knew what I didn't want. But like I said, with your brain, the way that it's wired, it looks to make you right. So if you focus on what you don't want, guess what your brain is wired to see? All the stuff you don't want. So you have to focus on what you do want. You have to get so clear with it. And too often we're so general with what we want. Like, I want to be successful. I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to be happy. Those things are not tangible enough for your brain to say and look for those things. It doesn't know what that is. So you've got to get so specific with it. Like successful. Well, that could look totally different for me than it does for you. And so you got to write out, what does successful look like? And maybe it's, something financial. So this is something I do with my new coaches. I have them sit down, imagine their life with $50,000 more. How does life change? What things do they stress about now that they no longer have to stress about? What are the things that they can go do with their spouse or family that they cannot do right now? How does life change when they hit $100,000 a year? $100,000 more a year. Now they've got money in the savings account. Now they've got their debt paid down. Whatever it might be for them, I have them get as detailed as possible about what it looks like with that money. And I know that it's not always about the money, but a lot of our problems do resolve around money, okay? So it helps you to get a better glimpse of what success looks like, because it's really not about the money itself. It's what the money allows you to do in your life. So no matter how high income has gotten with Beachbody, hasn't made me happier, just the money. It's made me happier when I'm able to do more with it. So like when I'm able to go and give huge, ridiculous lump sums to my church, and they're able to then go, they're doing a thing this Friday with middle schoolers, and that my pastor texted me this afternoon and said, we would not have been able to do this without your giving. Like 400 middle schoolers that makes me happy. Not the money, that, you know? So you have to figure out what that is for you. It's not going to be the same for all of us. So do that assignment rather than thinking about, oh, you know, what success looks like, blah, blah, blah. What specifically can you get in life when you get to those points? And then, you know, for me, I'm a very visual person. So I have always made vision boards. And that basically is just taking an image that represents that thing that I want that will inspire my heart to be like, yes, I remember. Okay. And I can get the feeling of what it feels like when I do that. So for me, initially, it was getting a home. Like I wanted a home that was paid for in full. And some people were like, that's not the most financially, that's not the best way to use your finances to pay for a home in full. It's actually, you can get better rate for your mortgage, you write off your interest payments, blah, 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 blah. I didn't give a shit about using my money the best. I wanted a house that could never, ever, ever get taken away because I lost my house. So the thing that my heart was just like soaring and wanting for is a home that could never get taken away. And so I worked my butt off to get this home right here that is paid for in full, that I can just be safe in and my family will never have to worry. And so things that are tied like that tight to you, oh, they move the needle. If it's just like, oh, I want to have, you know, that BMW, okay, that'll make you feel good and you can have fun with BMW and stuff like that. And I bought a dream car too. It's fun, but it's not as good as the home that can't be taken away is. So that's really my driver. So figure out what that really big one is. That is your driver. That is, you know, like what this picture is for me. That was my driver for so long. And then once I hit that, I had to expand and get a bigger driver. And then I had to expand and get a bigger driver. And I constantly keep those things in front of me, just like I do those affirmations, because that when I'm facing an adversity, because like I said, business is a roller coaster. It's going to be the ebbs and flows. When I have those days where it's frustrating or that challenging situations pop up, one, I say, I love and grow through challenges. And then I ask myself, what is this here to teach me? How can I use this to be able to help my team? But then I go look at where I'm headed and I say, is this challenge bigger than my dream? And it never is. And so I just face it, I ride through it, and I learn what I'm there to learn, and I push through earlier this year, there were some major challenges. I had to narrow in again, like, what am I focused on? Why am I doing this? You know, why do I love this? And fall back in love with the work and remember what I was working for in the first place. Make sure I'm on point here with what you guys were asking. Okay, so vision board. Creating a vision with your team. So first of all, you've got to have a clear vision yourself. If you don't have the vision, you can't speak vision. So probably a lot of you guys might have a general idea, but I would beg you to look a bit deeper before you go to your team. And then once you do, have them do the exact same activities that I'm telling you guys to do. Do the same type of call with them. Get on the phone with them and tell them, you know, ask them, hey girl, do me a favor. I did this activity after my team call this past week of just envisioning my life, you know, what things would change for me when I'm at the point of making an extra 25,000, an extra 50,000, extra 100,000, whatever. What would that be for you? I'd be curious, and I'd love to like kind of be able to mentor you to help you get there, because diamond and all these like random goals, they don't move the needle. Like you don't get excited about it. But when it's attached to, when I hit diamond, or when I hit, you know, $400 a week, I want to take my family on a vacation. I'm going to use that money. I'm going to save it up, 10% of it a week or whatever for the next year. And I'm going to take my family on a vacation. That kind of stuff is what will drive you. So figure out that what that is for your team, and it becomes a lot easier to push them towards their goals because you can remind them of where they're going and why they're going there. And then it's not going to be for everybody. And knowing that you're never going to convince every single type of person to see the long-term vision of this. But the more that you speak that vision out into your entire social media audience, the more you're going to draw in the people that are like you. And people don't get on trains that they don't know where they're going. So when you guys are like all over the place, people aren't likely to jump on that train. But when you're speaking vision about where you're going, like I remember when I first got in this, I wrote this crazy note about that I was going to be at the top of a company and that, you know, the train had left the station and whether or not they get on, I'm going to the top. I mean, it was very bold. And I can't believe I wrote that now because I don't think I would write that today. But my gosh, because my actions followed, I spoke the vision And then my actions followed. They started to see me creep towards that. Some people were like, oh shoot, she's not lying. So they started to jump on. And the more specific I've gotten about where the train is going, the more people want to jump on the train because they want to get to that destination. And so think about, with destination in mind, speaking that over your social media, like, where are you going and why are you going there? And get people involved in that, because if they want to go to the same place, they're going to see themselves in your story and be like, oh my gosh, that is so exactly my dream. Like, some people's dream is to be able to take their kids, go anywhere, go learn, like they can be homeschooled and go travel the world and learn history in person. Like, one of my dreams is, my daughter's named London. And so one of my dreams has always been to be able to take her to London. And so of course we're going to London in October, and to take her there and to be able to experience that with her, you know, and show her like the hard work that mommy does to be able to go on this trip, to show her like the work that we do, but then also to be able to go and do fun stuff with her. That is my dream. Like, I want her to experience the world. So what is that for you? And speaking that out loud to your people. Okay. I got the were you always confident. I got the attracting people like you. Oh, people like you. I just want to expand on that 1 second. I'm going to show you a little thingy that I redid. Okay. All right. So I know you guys have seen like the coach avatar, but I actually redid mine because I realized I did mine when I was 25 originally, and it had changed. And I would even say I need to redo this again, because I even think 27 is probably too young. I'm kind of old soul. So I had to grow up my avatar and who I was speaking to and get really, really specific on who she is. And when I'm speaking on social media, I am only speaking to her, only. And not to say that I don't attract guys, I do. Scotty Hobbs is one of my coaches, Miguel Carrasco. So I have some really awesome top guys, but that's not my niche audience. That's not the audience that I can change the most. Now, those guys, their wives are totally my peeps, and they are my peeps. I mean, they are totally like me, but I specifically need to target who I am, because that's the person I'm able to make the biggest difference with. So getting as specific and narrowed in as you possibly can. You'll notice that the top 10, totally different people. Like, Melanie Mitro is on my team, and the way that she talks to her social media and the way that I talk are totally different. Night and day, right? Totally different. But we're both moms. We're both moms of two. She has a Landon, I have a London. Their birthdays are literally a day apart. You know, like, so we have a lot of similarities. We're around the same age, but we're so different. And if you were to see our marketing, we market to a totally different mom. My mom wears cutoff shorts and crop tops and she's, you know, trendy, but she's also a Christian, and she just wants to like grow into the full capacity of what she was designed to be. Very deep thinking. And her mom is like the hot mess mom that doesn't want to do laundry, or, you know, wants to hire somebody to do laundry or whatever. And she just is the typical mom. And so we advertise very differently. If we were trying to advertise the same, yeah, sure, she'd be competition and I'd be competition for her, but we're not. I never have overlap with us. Another example of this is Bonnie Engel, who's one of my personally sponsored coaches. We look almost the same, and we're best friends. So you would think we'd have overlap, that we'd be competing because there's two people look similar, but we don't. We almost never have coaches that will try to go through either of us, like both of us. We never have customers that are overlapping, because she's got a younger vibe. I've got a little bit of older vibe. You know, she's got her like quirky faces, and if I ever did that, I would look like silly. So I think that you guys have to find out who you are, and that's a discovery process that I did through like finding the vision board and learning and growing about myself, about what really interests me, and what my fears were, and what my past said about me, and the things that I wanted to be, you know, remembered by. And so the more specific you dig deep into yourself, the easier it is to find your tribe and speak to that person. But don't be afraid to be very specific, because what I used to fear is, if I talk about that, I'm gonna run off this audience, or if I talk about this, that person might not relate, and then like they might become a coach, and who knows. So I was always worried about who I was going to turn off. When you do that, it speaks to no one. It's bland. It's just like every other coach. You want to be very specific because that's how you find your tribe, and that's how you find your peeps that become your best friends, that become the ones that you love hanging out with, and you guys go on trips together. I mean, you are stuck with these people for the rest of your coaching career, and it's really cool when you find your tribe. But when you try to go off the grid and you start to take on someone, you're like, oh, I don't really like this person, but I want to hit Success Club, I'll take them. It doesn't work out. Trust me, I know from personal experience. Personal development recommendations. So I used to be a book person, and I've now switched. I think it's probably having a baby again. I am obsessed with YouTube, and there's so many things for free that you guys can soak up. And there's so many times, like I sometimes would feel with reading, I didn't have time to sit down and actually read. And I'm a slow reader. I don't know why, I just really am slow. So I feel like I have pockets throughout the day that I'm not using my full brain, that I can actually be listening to personal development. And what I've done recently is while I'm in the shower, I'll turn on a speaker with YouTube people, and I'll give you a whole list of stuff in a second, when I'm doing my makeup. So if it's gonna be a video day, I'm no one to put makeup on, so I might as well, instead of listening to music or sitting there like doing my makeup, I might as well listen to something that's gonna grow me while I listen to it. And it's easy 20, 30 minutes that I'm gonna be sitting there. So makeup, shower, when I'm working out, if I'm doing a workout that I've done a dozen times, I don't need to listen to the cues because I already know them. So I can turn on personal development while I'm doing that. Cleaning is another one that you can easily listen to personal development while you're doing. Driving. I don't do that much driving because I don't leave the house very often, but if I did, I would do a ton of personal development, because going to and from mall or child pickup or whatever, you can get personal development time in. Recently, I started to calculate how much time I was getting in, and it's 2+ hours a day of personal development that I'm getting in just by filling up those little pockets. And never is there a time where I'm not being productive in those spots as well. I mean, obviously personal development is productive, but I'm able to catch up on team calls. I'm able to catch up on national wake-up calls while I'm doing other things that I have to get done regardless. So that alone will get you light years ahead of the competition, because most people don't do that. And if I am at the level I'm at, doing 2 hours of personal development a day, I'm going to move up that much faster. If you want to catch the people that maybe started and got ahead of you, all you have to do is fill those pockets with personal development. You will grow so fast. It's insane. It's like being able to read 2 books a week right now because I'm listening to so much stuff. So as far as people go, let me pull something up real quick. I remember them all. So my fave person for business type thinking is Jim Rohn. Love him.
Because it's like he is the man here. Like, the art of exceptional living is my top best ever. So I'm like, you say that, I'm like, oh my God.
I have legitimately listened to Jim Rohn at like 1981. There's a speech that he gives that's like 2.5 hours long. I have listened to it at least 20 times over and over and over again. I'm like obsessed. It's like when people say, who's the person that's passed away that you wish you could go have lunch with? It's him.
I say that all the time.
Do you really?
I say that all the time on every team call. If I talk about someone, like, if they tell you if you were to meet someone in heaven, you had to chat with them.
No
I tell you. Yeah. That's so funny.
That's awesome. No, he is my life. I wish he was my grandpa. I don't know why he wasn't, but yeah, he's amazing. I'm obsessed with him. So he is definitely a go-to, my favorite ever. When I need a good laugh and when I want to like be inspired and like have my soul shooken up, Les Brown is someone who just like completely fires me up. I love his storytelling. He talks a lot about what holds you back in life. And of course, that's my thing too. Mel Robbins, who's actually coming to leadership this year. So if you're close to 5-star, push. Brene Brown is awesome for vulnerability or shame or trust issues. She's incredible. Brendan Burchard has been like one of my new faves, which if you went to Summit, you obviously saw him. He has so much stuff on social or on YouTube. It's insane. Like just hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of content, and it's like all free. Shalene, of course, is incredible. She's got awesome podcasts and content out there as well. Let's see. Craig Holiday, I don't know. Emily, you're probably too early on to be able to hear his stuff. Let me copy and paste this in here. He was a mentor that Beachbody had on board way back in the day when I was first beginning, and he really helped me. The first one is on the determined natural ambition, what it takes to be successful. And the second one's on like time management, which I know is always a big ask for people. But those two are really, really impactful for me. For building knowledge about Shakeology and stuff like that, Shay Stanford, who's one of my coaches, I always recommend her YouTube and her blog to my coaches because she's full of knowledge. Tony Robbins is amazing. I'm trying to think who else do I listen to all the time. Okay, so I listen to like a lot of pastors. So Andy Stanley, John C. Maxwell. Oh gosh, who else do I listen to? Those are the big ones. Those are big ones right now. Oh, there's somebody I just was listening to all the time that I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, if you go on there, the cool thing about it is once you pull up one, so many others pop up, and TED Talks in general are incredible. Like, and you can usually see by the number of ratings and the number of comments who the best ones are. Simon Sinek, he's another good one. Gary Vaynerchuk, another awesome one. Sorry, they're all starting to come back to me. But those people, Dave Ramsey, another good one. Those people have changed my life. They have been my silent mentors. They don't know it yet, and they probably may never know it. The ones that are alive, I'm going to find my way to because they really have changed my life. But it was me. I had to listen. I had to press play. I had to be willing to dive in deep. I had to listen to them over and over and over again. Guys, I don't listen to things one time. I don't know if it's because I'm slow or if it's just because I just need that constant affirmation and like information pushed into my head. But I need 2 hours of personal development to become the kind of person that I want to become. I am like just getting started on who I want to become. The person that I want to be remembered by has done a lot more, has made a bigger impact than what I've made so far. So while it's awesome to be able to do a team call like this and to know that Emily like made a small difference, you know, in your belief in yourself and stuff, that's incredible. And I want to do more of that. Like I want to like max that capacity out so that when I leave, people are like, dang, she couldn't have had anything left in her, you know, because she just left it all out on the floor. And I think we should all do that. What are we holding back for? For what? At the end of the day, so you're like, oh, thank God I made it here well preserved and nobody had to ever unfriend me or dislike me or, you know, like I didn't have to get yelled at by anybody or anybody didn't think wrong things about me. What's the point? You know, we have to give everything we've got to this life. And this opportunity, let me just tell you from personal experience, can change every aspect of your life. Like blow your freaking mind, change your life. And I don't care where you're starting. Can't possibly be much worse than where I started. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I just hope that you'll take the time to do those things that I shared with you earlier, because that is the start. It's like you got to dig the foundation before you put the bricks there. And that's really what this is all about. A lot of you guys are going to be at the point right now where you got to make sure your foundation is right so that you'll build something strong and lasting, and that this vehicle can get you to the place that, you know, you want to be at. The dreams that you want to build can be built through this. It doesn't mean that this is your end all be all. It's not going to be my end all be all, but it's a huge part of my journey because it's allowed me the freedom to be able to create a ridiculous future. And it can be that for anybody. So any questions I can hit on?
Well, thank you so much. Seriously, I'm just still on the cloud for you talking about Jim Rohn. I'm like, there's so many quotes of him and him specifically, just the way he speaks, it becomes like engraved. I always saw like personal development, like the vision that I have is like, you know, it's like a sculptor. It's sculpting my mind and my philosophy. And whenever like I get from all these mentors, and for me, like the art of exceptional living, I don't know how it landed at my house. like, I don't remember, but I got that CD back in the day when you didn't put things on your phone. And I was like listening to it like over and over and over and over again. And that was like a gift. I mean, this really changed my whole life. So many notes I took. Thank you so much for your time. I think one of the things, and it's a common theme, I believe, in our specific business, you know, a lot of people starting with their own fitness journey and just getting back to themselves or doing something for themselves. And Jim Rohn says it best when he says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And when you were at that point in your life, when you were like, you felt like, you know, you couldn't see the light anymore, and you somehow were pulled to say, hey, I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to control one thing. And I feel like sometimes we listen to you, or like we listen to someone who inspires us, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's so many things to do. Like, there's so many steps to take, and I don't know how I'm going to get there. And it comes to the slight edge of things, like understanding that it's not like that amazing, like courageous act that will happen once. It's like those little things, like you starting to say, you know what, I'm going to share my journey of P90X, and that's going to kick my butt. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to change the story I've been telling myself for so many years, that I'm a quitter and I'm this, I'm that, and I'm going to rebuild myself. And it's interesting you're talking about all those affirmations. Today I did a video talking about the book, The 4 Agreements.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's one of the books that changed my life too, before starting coaching. And I was talking about how we are, you know, raised and to start to believe in things, and like we start saying those things, I am this, I'm that, and we have to really be aware, conscious of how we see ourselves. It becomes our reality. And you talked about that in those Post-its. I think it's amazing that you think about saying them out loud. For me, like, that's a game changer right now, because I think like sometimes I'm going to put things and I kind of like forget them. So getting that extra action to say them out loud. So babe, we're going to have Post-its.
Okay. So another thing that I started doing that really has been a game changer on top of the affirmations here is, like, I'm not a morning person, so I had a hard time getting into a morning routine, but I've been really intentional about, and I got this is the person I remember now. Remember I said there's a person that I've been listening to recently, I can't think of her name. Lisa Nichols is from The Secret. She is awesome. If you haven't listened to her on YouTube, she talked about an activity that she does where she wakes up, she looks herself in the mirror, she lists 7 things that she's proud of herself for, 7 things that she forgives herself for, and 7 things that she's committing to. And I have recently started to do that, and it has been unbelievable. Like, you just don't understand the smallest, tiniest little thing that maybe takes you an extra 5 minutes makes such a difference in like your mentality, and just like I said, with the brain and how your brain focuses on those things. Like, I had a miracle happen 2 weeks ago, and I was just like, are you kidding me? And it was one of the things that I had forgiven myself for. It just like resolved on its own. And I have to believe it had to have been in part because of me saying those things out loud. And, you know, sometimes it's simple things. Sometimes they're big forgive things. Sometimes they're just small things, you know, and it's just being able to be intentional about setting those kind of habits. Like the slight edge says, some people, it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And most people won't do it. And I find in this business, like people like you, you know, and people like me, we're not that different. We just decide to do the little things that most people don't. And it really moves you ahead way faster than you think it's going to. Like, you think it's going to take forever. Because I remember looking at Christine Dwyer and Janelle Summers and stuff, and they like were at the top of Beachbody, and they still are. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'll never be like them because they've got each other. They've got their awesome tribe and platinum presenters and stuff. I'm like, oh, you know, my team probably won't. But then I was like, oh, damn it, my team will be there. Like, one day my team's going to be a top team. They're going to be well known. And I was just like speaking those things over. I was shocked that it happened as quickly as it did. You know, and it wasn't overnight, trust me. But talking like years, it took years. But in the whole scheme of your life, like, years go by like this. How fast has this year gone? It's going to be like September. It's gonna be fall. Like, that's insane to me. So years go by very quickly. And sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to focus on me because I want to get ahead. I want to start doing this, that, and the other in the business. Like, what is a month to get a transformation? To really dig in deep in yourself? Like, what is a month? It goes so fast. So what is a year to give yourself to really dive in deep and to like get into this habit of personal development, to start to speak to yourself in a way that you would speak to your child, and to speak to yourself in the way that, you know, to the person that you want to become, and talk about yourself that way to other people, and not down the compliments that they give you and things like that, noticing those things about yourself. What is a year to learn how to do that, when that year can change the rest of your life? So just give yourself a chance is really what I'm asking at the end of the day, is give yourself a chance to try these things out. If they don't change you, yeah, in the next week or two, sure, get rid of it. But I promise you it'll change. So
thank you. That was such a treat. I knew it. I knew it was going to be a treat, but like I couldn't even grasp it. I mean, you've given us more than an hour of your time. Thank you so much for being so generous, and words of wisdom coming out of your mouth. And I just felt your energy just here. And like, that's why I'm struggling sometimes with night calls, because I'm trying to be a morning person, and then I'm on a cloud all night. I'm like,
I know. I got rid of night calls too for a little while, and I went back to them because there's just nothing like it. It's so awesome.
I know. And I'm just joking. Like, I'm super thankful. I don't care if I don't sleep. But,
I gave up on the morning thing. I'm like, whatever.
Okay, because tomorrow I'm going to get up and be like, I'm still ready to go. For a while with everything you shared. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you the best for your family and everything that you have planned. And I will see you in
a couple of weeks, like a week or two.
Oh, let's take a group picture. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I'm forgetting it. Okay, everybody turn on their video. Okay, perfect. Are you guys ready? Smile. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
You're so welcome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.